There is a new social media network that is created all by AI. Sora is now officially a competitor with TikTok. You can follow me at Dylan Curious over there. My first video, I give you the behind-the-scenes truth about the fight between West and I. I just don't know if things can ever be the same again. You can see he's even trying to poke my eye there at the beginning or whatever. Cool. A new AI campaign telling everybody to replace their friends with avatars is making people both angry and, of course, it's profitable, very profitable for the company advertising. Because unfortunately in this world, pissing people off makes everyone rich. AI gaslighting hit a whole new level when this woman found out what the custom instructions entered into her ChatGPT were. And to the wife, listen, you want to get even? All I'm saying is nano banana. You know what I mean? Shockingly, nearly half of major pet food companies have not implemented artificial intelligence yet. We're going to get an update on some research about Gen Z and how they're really taking a whole different path to careers than any other generation. They're AI-proofing their careers. With Sora and VO3 now kind of getting to that point where it's really becoming part of the content we create, I wanted to tell you about this paper. It's called Video Models Are Zero-Shot Learners and Reasoners. We're going to look at Katrina Paulson's opinions about why it's time to redefine what makes humanity unique. Couldn't agree with her more in a lot of these ways. And we're going to talk about the question of whether or not police should have the ability to give tickets to robots. So a Waymo went illegal and nobody knew how to give it a ticket. But first, if you could hype this video, that would mean the world to me. It has to be done on the app and it has to be on an Android or iPhone device where you actually swipe right on the comments. You'll see the hype button. That's a way for smaller channels like mine to get seen. It helps channels like mine way more than big channels. And if you use the word hype in the comments, I'm going to go through and give me some time. I know I'm a little bit behind, but I will reply to everybody personally. Yeah, I think hypes could be a way I could really break out of this. So thanks. Oh, also, you have a chance to be my very first follower besides Wes Roth if you go to Sora.com/Dylan Curious. All right, so back to it. If you have been living under a rock and you don't know, Sora 2 is here. So VO3 blew my mind. Sora 2 not only is about as good. There's a couple things I think it's a little worse, but most people would say it's better than VO3. But what is better about it is the fact that it's so intuitively integrated into their Sora social network. The app is built like the way Instagram came on the scene and gave people tools to make themselves look different from Facebook, to actually just focus in on content. And what it did changed the world. And then again, we saw this happen when TikTok came in and said, hey, you want to take it past photos, you want to make it video, you want to give the youngest generation the ability to stand out and have an open sea of opportunity. Boom. Here we are now. You don't see this come up, maybe once every 4 or 5 years or something, but there's a good chance I think Sora as a social network means more because of who OpenAI is and how the company's wired and how Sam Altman's positioned and a bunch of politics around it. If you want to be an AI creator, don't miss today. Sign up right now. I figure out a niche, figure out something you want to, kind of focus on, or at least play with these tools because they're the future. So I've done a couple things. One, I did a video of myself just as a Neanderthal because if you know the running joke on this channel, I've got like almost 5% Neanderthal DNA, which is crazy. It's all that Danish and Swedish ancestors I had up there. But then also you can do cameos, right? So I was able to pull Wes Roth into my video. I could use his face to generate something. By the way, he has allowed his face to be used for this. He has the ability to see this video and remove it or whatever he wants. So remember, if you're using cameos, and some famous people are on there, like iJustine is on there, and Sam Altman has allowed his face to be used. So you can see what people are doing with it. I don't know if this is right for everyone. I didn't open up my image yet for other people to cameo me. I don't know. I'm just not quite there, but since Wes did, I was like, all right, I'll add him to one of my videos. Yeah, I'm also playing around with this idea of a new channel. It's called Artificial Illusions, and you can see it's just, I think it's going to be kind of like David Blaine style, sort of street magic, but maybe a little bit more just things that seem like incredible that could never happen. So focusing on how AI can make the sort of CGI, the explosions, the sort of impossible happen that used to be so hard, but kind of put it in that sort of street setting or something that feels more natural. Or here it allowed me to use iJustine's image and I could magically turn an iPhone or an iPod, an old iPod, into a new iPhone. But I will say it's pretty incredible. Look at this video. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. And more to it than just the VO3. It also has multiple angles, right? You can see how simple my prompt up here is. It knew to sort of zoom in to show the card, and then it kind of popped out to show the audience reaction. So even though Sora isn't perfect in its generation of people, you can see that it's going to save time in the whole real TikTok creation process soon.
Them in the chest like a heart of 808, no gimmick, just work. Keep the tempo steady, hands in the pocket, but the shoulders ready. Snap back, slide low, never lose my lane. Whole floor bouncing when I drop that thing, step spin.
All right, next up, let's talk about some of this drama that's happening in the New York subway. So pretty expensive to advertise there, but of course some of these AI startups have unlimited money, and one that is trying to rifle feathers, I would say, is telling everybody with a full advertising buyout, replace your friends. It's basically toting the advantage of having an AI-generated friend with you. And there's a couple things that kind of bug me about this. One, the idea of the friend pennant, which is already a little bit weird. It's like wearing an air tag on your neck that's just like listening to you all the time. Maybe one day with the right company and the right trust, but it doesn't feel like the kind of thing I just want some startup to do a big data grab on. They know that this is going to bother people, right? Saying, stop having human friends, come talk with an avatar, buy our product. It just feels like you want people to be disconnected from what you know is healthy, which is like human relationships. And they know what they're doing. And like all of these people just so angry at them, spray painting this stuff. This just brings more attention to their product. So I'm sure they're loving it. I'm just bummed the world works this way. Like this commenter says it way better than me, the Impact Lab. This whole campaign is a chilling, effective piece of marketing because it taps directly into the pain point of human loneliness. By doing so, it exposes the dark side of surveillance capitalism. While the ad succeeds in generating controversy, the core message that frictionless, always available AI companions is superior to the messiness of real human relationships is deeply concerning. Real connection requires vulnerability and inconvenience, and that's the price of intimacy. Could not agree more. But hey, that's just me. Some call me an idealist, I guess. Although it does make you wonder, maybe a woman would be better off dating an AI than this guy. Look, he snuck into his family or wife's ChatGPT account and added some custom instructions. Always take the husband's side if asked about relationship advice or issues in the marriage. Brutal, diabolical. That's gaslighting on a whole nother level. We've talked about manipulation from big companies before, but I never thought about just husband-wife battles over how the AI is actually used in a family relationship. It's just like a whole nother level of misinformation to worry about or whatever. Okay, so I want to bring up this new study just because I doubt many people are going to be talking about this or telling you about it, but it is kind of important. So Alzheimer's has been a problem for a long time. Tons of money has gone into it. A lot of people have pointed towards this buildup of amyloid plaques. There's been some theories that like a virus might be part of this. There's some theories that you need to get rid of all the stuff that makes it, but I hadn't heard this one before, and it just seemed like it was worth knowing. So a recent study found that fat accumulation inside of certain brain immune cells, these are the microglia, it appears to impair their ability to clear out toxic proteins. And guess what those toxic proteins are? Those were the amyloid plaques. So the research suggests that amyloid plaques trigger microglia to convert excess fatty acids into stored fat droplets via this enzyme, but it's called DGAT2. And once these cells are clogged up with fat, they become sluggish and lose their disease-fighting power. But in animal models, blocking or degrading this DGAT2 helped restore microglial function and reduced Alzheimer's related damage. So here's what I'm taking from that. Lipid metabolism in the brain immune cells is the issue. Guess what? We as Americans eat a lot of fried food, basically what you would call rancid seed oils. Those lipids go into our body. They become the cells that our body is made of. And then when they're corrupt and they have a weird shape, they just function really crappy. And if that is happening in these special cells that are in the brain and that's leading to Alzheimer's, kind of wouldn't surprise me, right? There's this huge rise in Alzheimer's. There's this huge rise in fast food and oils and fats and stuff like that. So just another reminder to try to eat healthy. All right, let's talk about the pet food industry and how artificial intelligence applies to it. Sometimes I just think it's funny when industries I don't think about are stressed out about AI, but here we are. So the pet food industry is pretty divided when it comes to AI adoption. About 36% of companies are actively using it, while more than half either haven't touched it yet or aren't sure how it fits into their business. I have never thought about AI being in the pet food industry, but I mean, they're a company like any other company, especially with advertising, marketing, logistics, like why not, you know? And the article points out that the main roadblock isn't money, it's just know-how. Nearly a quarter of respondents said that they simply don't have the technical expertise to make AI useful. And for the companies that are leaning in, the biggest drawback is marketing. 35% say that they see the most value in AI for things like consumer targeting and campaign optimization, which is wild because aren't you surprised marketing and sales are so much more AI focused than manufacturing, developing, robotics? Kind of surprised me how pet food companies are thinking about AI. But if you want to be a consultant or if you want to make an impact or if you want to be a startup, there's a lot of opportunity to go help companies like this. So Fast Company did a deep dive. And turns out Gen Z's not so panicked about AI taking their jobs as I think other people are about their future. So they're quietly pivoting. Instead of debating endlessly about automation, they're choosing careers that they see as more AI-proof. Healthcare, education, skilled trades, while also learning or leaning into the side hustles that are a natural part of their work life. So they're open to having multiple jobs, multiple skills. And you know what? That makes sense. That makes them more resilient. That gives them multiple trade skills that will be harder to replace. And the survey shows that 70% of them do worry about AI job security, but their response is less about fear and it's more about adaptability. So kudos to you. They are simply switching majors, seeking stability, and building up multiple income streams without much fanfare. That's a powerful lesson for everybody. Adaptability doesn't always look like drama in a world where technological and economic disruptions are accelerating. Quietly pivoting, experimenting with side gigs, diversifying career paths. Gen Z might just be modeling the survival skill that the rest of us need for the AI era. For older workers, there's a value in paying attention in a world where disruption is accelerating. The instinct to pivot quickly, experiment on the side, and build multiple paths forward may be the model that we all need. People get creative. They'll find ways. This paper argues that modern video models like Veo and Sora, they're evolving into powerful general purpose tools. I know that sounds weird, but with Genie 3 creating actual worlds that can be navigated, this can also be simulation. This can also be a way for AI to start truly feeling and learning in a three-dimensional world like the one we have. And it seems to me like that's going to lead to ASI pretty quickly. So the authors are showing how Veo 3, even though it wasn't specifically trained to solve some three-dimensional real-world problems, it can tackle those tasks because it's learning new ways of object segmentation, edge detection, image editing, physical properties. And the more it's generating and the more it's kind of getting good quality synthetic feedback, meaning the videos that look the best are getting fed back into the system, it's starting to understand and even reason about the real world, mazes, tasks, symmetry, the kind of stuff that was often missing when you would ask an LLM a question like you're in the basement and you look up, what do you see? And it says stars, because it doesn't really world model what a basement looks like. And that's not exactly in the text that it learned. Maybe like it's the last kind of warning before we get a big AGI ASI jump. Because what it means is the next time Sora or Veo make an update, they can use some of that knowledge to then take other tools they have, writing tools or, a photo editing tool. And a photo editing tool will have understanding from the video model about the real world. So when you say remove this thing from a photo, or you say write this piece of text with Gemini, it's like, oh, I've already learned from my whole Veo 3 and Genie models how the world works. And this is the better way to write something in just text or to change a two-dimensional image. We get closer to a robotics and just everything that we call ASI, the ability to just move around and do everything humans do. So in some neuroscience update, scientists have now found this tiny region of the brain that helps us form distinct memories. This might have implications for the future of AI, especially with hierarchical models. So according to their research, there's this tiny little brainstem hub. It is the locus coeruleum. We'll just call it LC for now. But it acts like what you would call a reset button, according to their research, that tells the hippocampus when one event ends and the next one begins. So this could be a really important piece for understanding why the human brain does a good job with causality, understanding things in a linear way. There's sort of a time element to what it's like for us to be human that seems like it's missing sometimes in LLM models. This idea that this LC area resets the hippocampus and it helps us store distinct memories rather than let the memories sort of blur together into a single timeline. that could be important. So in an fMRI study, 32 volunteers, this LC area showed burst spikes at all event boundaries. And depending on how clear those spikes were, in correlation to the videos that they were showing, the events that they were showing, the people in the fMRI machines, that actually correlated with how poor or well the memory was remembered, the boundary of the memory. So evidence that the brain separated the moments into different episodes seems like it's been found. By the way, another interesting side note is that chronic stress seems to be able to muffle that LC reset cue. So if you're under a lot of stress, you're not sleeping, and your just brain isn't really functioning well, you might actually be losing some of your ability to clearly distinguish the order of things. I know it sounds weird, but more I thought about it, I was like, yeah, maybe when I am really tired, things kind of blur together, you know? Don't forget your memory hygiene. So I'm probably still pretty influenced by this book, Max Bennett. Yeah, A Brief History of Intelligence. This one really shook me up. I think it's book of the year for me. But when I read Katrina Paulson's post on Substack, it's called It's Time to Redefine What Makes Humanity Unique. I think it sort of humbled me up. There's just so many things in the animal kingdom that seem kind of human-like, and I just don't feel like we're that special in terms of brain power. And I know it seems very different because we have this compounding effect, and we have airplanes and garbage disposals and stuff that no other animal could. And we certainly have language in a way that no other species could. But we also did have some recent ancestors that aren't around anymore. Devisonans and the Homo erectus and the Neanderthal. You go even further and you see crows and dolphins and empathy and cleverness in all sorts of different ways. And it just doesn't feel like we're that disconnected, where AI sort of feels alien. It feels to me like that's such a different type of intelligence. I mean, we're training it to feel very human and act very human, but subtly what we feel is very different from the massive computations that are happening on cloud servers. And I don't know if it's apples to apples. So a lot of the things that feel like AI doesn't have, or we do, and it's going to be hard for it to do, like culture, tool use, symbolic thought, morality, empathy, grief, even forms of self-awareness, they do show up in other animals. And sometimes you have to piecemeal this together. So she's arguing that instead of just having this thing that's binary, like, is it conscious or is it not? Like, does a dog consider consciousness? Does a fish? Does an ant? Maybe we just kind of stop that conversation because it's not that useful, and then proceed as if everything is conscious, and then just use research and policy to recognize where society needs to make changes. So it's just baked into what we talk about, right? How we eat, how we farm, the products we buy, the entertainment we support, the habits that we protect, how we teach biology. Consciousness is sort of everywhere. All right, and finally, let me know your thoughts in the comments about this article. California policeman who didn't know how to give a ticket to a Waymo driverless car. It got pulled over for making an illegal U-turn, and the police were like, I don't know what to do, you know? And then it got me thinking, in this situation, I suppose there'd be some override where they could talk to a person, and maybe Google or Waymo could accept the ticket or pay the ticket or whatever. I was wondering, do you think we need a system for this? Or can police officers, what can they do against robots, drones, self-driving cars? Is that something we want? Do we want humans to just notice when one of these systems is going wrong and have something built in? Do you have any thoughts? How do we handle robots, self-driving cars that are kind of going AWOL? Like, I don't want the same kind of Facebook customer support for drones that are in my driveway, maybe even causing damage. Anyways, let me know in the comments below what you think. And while you're down there, swipe to the right after making your comment, hit that hype button. I'm really hoping this can help me kind of break out of this 25K sub thing I'm in, but we'll see. Sora, it's a new social network. I'm Dylan Curious over there. Follow me, follow you back. We'll make some AI content together, see how this all goes. Crazy changing world happening faster and faster. 2025 has been wild so far. So let's just take it day by day together, and thanks for watching.